Good evening, everyone. A happy Children's Day to all of you. Welcome to the News Today edition of 14th of November, wherein we try and make all important news for the day in the most simplest format for you guys to understand. So let's look at the important news which we are going to cover today. First is World Health Organization has released the Global Tuberculosis Report of 2025. Then Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare has released the Draft Seeds Bill of 2025. In COP30, there has been a Land Gap Report 2025, which has highlighted that the reliance of governments on climate pledges on land-based carbon removal is something which needs to be discussed. In the same conference of COP30, India has highlighted that climate finance is a key barrier to climate ambitions. And scientists have offered a study which is promising a new method to repair spinal fractures using stem cells. We are going to discuss place is in news, that is Iran, along with quick updates for the day. So the very first news is World Health Organization has released a report, which is Global Tuberculosis Report, which is highlighting that how exactly we are fighting the tuberculosis as a disease at a global level. So there are few key findings which this report has highlighted. Again, an important topic for you as an aspirant, because health is a topic in GS paper number 2 under the subject of social justice. So let's look at first what exactly are the key findings of this report. This report is telling that TB is still very dangerous as a disease. In fact, you understand, TB is a kind of a disease which is preventable and which is curable. It is a disease regarding which we have discovered medicines, we have made medicines. It can be prevented by taking certain precautions. It can be cured by taking proper diagnosis and treatment. In spite of that, it is the leading top 10 causes of deaths in the world. And in fact, last year in 2024, the report highlights there has been 12 lakh people who have died out of TB, which is telling maybe the growing nature of TB and how important it is to stop this and again to handle this. Then we have the world does not have enough money to fight TB. That is something which this report has highlighted very clearly. As far as the World Health Organization report, it tells that the amount of money which is required along the developing countries to fight the cause of tuberculosis, it is very less. And again, we does not have enough money to fight TB. And the money which is available as of now is only 25% of what exactly is needed to fight the present scenario of tuberculosis in the world. Then basically telling again, we are exactly having 1/4 of the amount of money which is required to fight TB. This report is also telling that there are 8 countries which is having 67% of all TB patients. And in fact, it is very much strange to understand that again, India has 25% of world TB patients. It lacks approximately 1/4 of TB patients are in India. This report also tells in 2024, 87% of all TB patients were from just 30 countries. It is telling what? That it is majorly dominating the areas of course, the least developed countries or developing countries. Then there is funding crisis, which I have discussed altogether. But again, the amount, let's get, the global TB funding is stuck. If we want to fight this particular disease, and again, we need funding. So as per the report, we have only $5.9 billion which is available, and the required amount is somewhere, as per the WHO target, $22 billion, which is approximately we're having 1/4 of the amount what is required. Then this disease also requires certain kind of research and development. So with respect to research funding, as far as this disease is concerned, the amount is also very less. We need $5 billion, and again, available is only $1.2 billion, which is only 24% of what exactly is required. Then, with respect to TB cases, again, the report also highlights, yes, the cases have dropped at a global level. By 12%, there has been a reduction of TB since 2015 to 2024, which is less. But again, yes, the cases of TB has decreased. Then the deaths due to TB has also dropped by 29% in the same period, which is good, but again, which is very less as given the fact it is preventable as well as curable. Then with respect to multi-drug resistant TB, again, it is a specific variety of TB where again, different drugs do not respond to the bacteria which is there in the body. That disease is called as multi-drug resistant. So again, drug means the medicines is not going to work in that particular case. So this is where this incidence is again a public health crisis and global security threat as far as this report is concerned. This is something what this report has highlighted as far as the TB or tuberculosis is concerned. Let's look at some facts with respect to TB in the country. So TB is basically a disease which is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which is spread through air whenever an infected person is coughing or sneezing. This droplets of sneeze and cough is the source of transmission, and that is transmitting through air. Right. So when we talk about TB, again, there are different types. One is, the prominent one is pulmonary TB, because TB is affecting the lung organ of the body. So that is a primary TB, that is called as pulmonary TB, which is most common, and it spreads through cough. Any infected person, whenever he is coughing, sneezing, the droplets which is being released is a transmitter of that particular disease. The medium is, of course, air, and it is highly infectious in nature. Then we have what we call as extrapulmonary TB, which is affecting other organs of the body. Technically, through lungs, TB get transmitted in most of the cases to other parts of the body as well. That is called as extrapulmonary TB, which is affecting the brain, bones, lymph nodes, kidneys, and not as infectious. It is less infectious as compared to this pulmonary TB, which is usually spread through lungs within the body. Then we have a treatment. As far as TB is concerned, of course, we have found out medicines, we have found out antibiotics which is going to work against TB. Again, please remember these names. They can ask you in prelims examination. They can give you these names and they can ask you, these are the antibiotics which are used for treatment of which kind of disease. Then we have multi-drug resistant TB. So this is something which I have discussed, multi-drug resistant. So again, this variety of TB is resistant to all form of drugs, and it is very difficult to cure. In fact, most of the highest powerful first-line drugs are not going to work in case of multi-drug resistant TB. That is something which has been highlighted as per this particular report. So these are the few things as far as TB is concerned. At an India level and global level, what we are doing to fight TB, let's see one by one. So initiatives at India level, we have National TB Elimination Program, NTEP, which is trying to eliminate TB by 2025. Right. Then we have a Nikshay portal, that is a web-based patient management and surveillance system under the NTEP. Basically, this portal tracks that if a particular person is having TB, is it or is that person taking all precautions, all nutritional aspects is taken into consideration, how far that person is responding to drugs. All of these things is being tracked in this particular portal. At a global level, World Health Organization has led a strategy to end TB. So the target here is 90% reduction in patient suffering and 95% reduction in deaths due to TB by 2035 as compared to 2015 levels. So these are the few initiatives which has been taken by India and at global level to fight tuberculosis as a disease. A very important topic for your examination in prelims. There could be, because basic diseases, general science, basic biology or reading, so that makes that topic important as far as examination is concerned. You read about MDR TB, you read about basic antibiotics, types of TBs. These are the prominent nature of questions which could be framed as far as prelims is concerned. In mains, they can ask about how exactly we are fighting this problem of tuberculosis, or in general, whenever we're discussing about health as a cause, maybe some kind of questions regarding that. We can use that maybe as an example, this tuberculosis report, where again it is highlighting that again how funds are required at global level to fight tuberculosis. tuberculosis. Clear? That's all about this particular news. The next topic is Department of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare has released something called as Draft Seeds Bill 2025. What exactly is this bill all about? So this bill talks about that again as far as seeds. What are seeds? The farmers which are using to grow crops. So if seed variety or seed quality is not good, how can you expect good crops? So that is the first basic problem which we need to fight as far as improving the conditions of farmers or in general agriculture is concerned, right? So this is where government has come up with a new bill which is trying to make a standardized seed variety, and every seed which is going to be used by farmers are going to be registered under the government, right? That's the basic idea of that particular bill. So this bill has been released by the Department of Agriculture, and again it is up in the public forum for opinion, and then after that it is going to be tabled in the parliament. Clear? So as for this, currently we are having a very old law with respect to seed, that is Seeds Act of 1966. We have Seed Control Order of 1983. So these laws are quite old, and there was a requirement that again we need to change as per the changing nature of Indian agriculture. The requirements are changing. This is where this piece of legislation or bill is a very required step in this particular regard. Then it is going to ensure that every farmer get quality seeds, because many times farmers are investing their land, their labor, their money, everything. If seed quality is not good, then how can we expect to grow good amount of crops, good quality of crops? If a farmer is investing his time, his money, his money in fertilizers, tractors, everything, but again the problem is the quality of seed. This is very important thing. Then it is also protecting farmers' right, because you understand there have been farmers who are using their own seeds, and that has been using in their cultivation since generations. Let's say if I'm a farmer, and my 4 or 5 generations have been doing cultivation of a particular quality of rice. So we have been using that seed generation to generation. So that traditional seed quality has to be respected. And this is where the bill is also telling that again we are not going to make such farmers who are using such indigenous or traditional seeds. Many times seeds during post-harvest, many of the farmers also give seeds to their neighbors, so that again this is how the whole culture of agriculture develops. So all such seeds are not required to get registered as per this particular act, and that is going to make the rules, this bill is going to make the rules of agriculture again quite easier as far as ease of doing business in agriculture is concerned. So the bill basically talks about that first is there has to be a mandatory registration of all seeds. You cannot sell any seed which is not registered as per this particular bill. So number one, exception has been given, again as I discussed, all farmer varieties. So farmers who have been traditionally using their own variety of seeds which they have locally saved, all such seeds are not required to be registered as per this particular bill. Then seeds which are grown for export. Let's say any company is manufacturing any, let's say a hybrid tomato variety of seed, which is again seeds which is going to be exported, not going to be used in Indian agriculture or by Indian farmers. Such kind of seeds are also not required to be registered as per this particular bill. Then seeds must meet a certain quality standards. That is a very important thing, because Indian minimum seed certification standards has to be met so that better quality of crops could be harvested by using good quality of seeds. Then there has to be formation of Central Seed Committee, which is a national level committee as far as this particular law is concerned, which is going to be having its office in New Delhi, and it is going to advise on the matters of seed planning, its production, how we are going to store such seeds, the quality, and maybe imports and exports of such quality of seeds. That is something which is there as far as this particular bill is concerned. Now, what all other things which this bill is highlighting is there has to be something called as state seed committee. Just like we have national seed committee at national level, at state level we are going to have state seed committee, which is going to have maximum of 15 members, and they will coordinate seed related work inside the states, right? Then again, if I am a seed manufacturer, I need to register my seed. I will go to the registration subcommittee. So this committee is going to check all the claims which are being made by seed companies, and they are going to make sure that again the seed has to meet the desired quality standards, and then they are going to register, again recommend that what seed quality that is going to be registered under this particular bill. Then there has to be a national register of all seed varieties. We are going to maintain a standard register which is going to contain details of all seeds which are registered under the government, so that it is going to make the process more transparent to all farmers, that again, yes, these are registered seeds, and the other seeds which is there which are not registered, there has to be some knowledge regarding that particular thing as well. Then with respect to central and state seed testing labs, because of course, as I discussed, there has to be we have to maintain a good quality of seeds, so there has to be a lab in which seeds are going to be tested. For that we require seed analysts and inspectors, and these seeds are going to be checked for its purity, its germination, its quality, and the labs are going to ensure seeds meet all the required standards which are being set as per this particular bill. And again, for the very first time, there has been penalties and punishment which are going to be given for people who are not abiding by this particular law. And again, offences have been categorized on 3 categories: trivial for very smaller ones, minor, and the major. That is, a stricter punishment will be given for major kind of let's say violation of the law, and punishment is up to 30 lakh of penalty or imprisonment of up to 3 years. That is the basic things which this bill has highlighted as far as this particular thing is concerned. Very important topic as far as agriculture is concerned, modernization of agriculture is concerned, maybe talking about maintaining or keeping agriculture out of stressful situation is concerned. All of these maybe can be used in any of the answers of your mains, where again we are talking about reforms in agricultural sector. Moving on, the again conference of Party 30 is going on. In that particular conference, there has been a discussion on Land Gap Report 2025, which highlights that again we know that all governments across the globe is trying to fight climate change. We need to reduce the carbon which is present in the atmosphere, right? So as per this particular report, the report tells the governments have been relying too much on the terrestrial ecosystem to fight the climate change, because in land we have what? We have forests which have farms, we have soil, we have wetlands which are good absorbers of carbon from the atmosphere. So for that particular purpose, they are trying to make sure that again this is called as land based carbon removal. So the terrestrial ecosystem is being used for removal of carbon from the atmosphere. So this is going to be done by growing, of course, more plants, improving the soil quality, using techniques that can trap carbon in the terrestrial ecosystem. The report again tells that for this purpose and for the amount of carbon we are trying to trap through terrestrial ecosystem, the amount of land which we require is 1.01 billion hectares, which is very much big. Again, you can compare it as big as Canada or Australia. Again, approximately. So that amount, that big piece of land is in fact practically not feasible. Given the conditions of development we are seeing, given the requirement what we are having, this is quite unfeasible. So that is where this report highlights that again governments have been relying too much on the land, and the land requirement is not practically possible given the current scenarios is concerned. Then what are the methods which are being used for land-based carbon capture? Number one is reforestation, afforestation. Again, you know that forests are good absorbers of carbon. So reforestation means basically planting plants and trees that again where there were original forests. Again, sometimes forests are naturals. They are maybe in trees are naturally growing in forest. What is reforestation? Reforestation means some place which has been deforested or some place where again in a new area we are trying to plant more trees. Then we have afforestation, that is planting trees in places that never had forest. That is afforestation. Then trees, of course, have a good source of carbon capture. And again, as per IPCC, they tell that they can remove zero point 0.5 to 10 gigatons of carbon dioxide per year. Then soil carbon sequestration. Again, this is a again, you understand the soil are also very good absorbers of carbon. So healthy soil. This is where we talk about less use of chemical fertilizers, making the soil healthy. And again, in fact, we have discussed recently, there has been a creation of fund which is trying to make sure that again how developing countries are going to get money with respect to doing the ideas of deforestation and maintaining good quality of soil, which is again better use or maybe are good absorbers of carbon. Then we have bioenergy with carbon capture and storage. We are trying to make sure that again, of course, we understand there is huge demand of energy. So we are going to grow such kind of crops which are going to be used for energy generation. And then we are going to capture the carbon dioxide and store them in underground. That is again a very sustainable way of making energy. So that is how energy can be generated. At the very same time, carbon can be removed together. Then we're also talking about geological carbon sequestration. That is, carbon dioxide is pushed deep undergrounds and they are stored deep undergrounds, which in the very long run can become fossils. So this is where again one other way of carbon capture under the terrestrial ecosystem is concerned. Then we have what we call as biochars. What are biochar? It is a method in which we are burning plants waste under low oxygen conditions, and then they create something charcoal like material is created, and this is mixed in the soil. So it is solving two things. Number one, it is helping soil to regain its fertility naturally. At the very same time, it is locking carbon for centuries in the terrestrial ecosystem. And lastly, we have enhanced weathering mechanism. All of you understand that weathering is a natural process. That again, how rocks maybe get transformed into pebbles through the process of weathering. There are different agents of weathering, maybe soil, maybe the rain, wind, air, all of these are natural sources of weathering. But now in this process, what we are doing is we are crushing special type of rocks and we are spreading them on land. With this, rocks will react with the carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere, and again they are going to make sure that again carbon content in the atmosphere is getting reduced. Again, this is something called as enhanced weathering. So basically the idea of speeding up the natural process of chemical weathering. So these are the few data as per the IPCC report. Afforestation, deforestation has this much capacity of carbon sequestration or carbon removal. Soil carbon sequestration has this much amount of quality. Bioenergy with carbon capture and storage, again growing of such kind of plants, which again can be used as a form of energy and also to take out carbon dioxide from atmosphere. Then biochar and enhanced weathering. This is a data which tells that which method has which amount of capacity to take out carbon from the atmosphere. Then this report has also highlighted few other things. Number one is the land gap. Again, we discussed that again the land which is required is not feasible in the current scenarios. Why? Because the land is also being used for growing food. It is going to harm biodiversity. If let's say we are going for reforestation, if we are going to grow more plants, and again we need land, but land is being used. This is where biodiversity could be in danger. loss of livelihoods for local community. Many local communities are dependent on these forests. Then possible conflicts over land. This is the basic thing. So too much land is being demanded for climate solution as per this particular report. And then the forest gap report. Again, this report tells that we have promised ourselves to stop deforestation by 2030, but till now we are not much progressing towards the requirement of deforestation, which is we are losing. In fact, now we are losing 20 million hectares of forest every year till 2030. So this is the reality and the promise what we have made with respect to tackling the problem of deforestation. So these are the few facts which this report has highlighted. Again, very important, because in prelims you understand, as far as environment ecology is concerned, a lot of questions are being asked from the topic from current affairs. So you're going to read all such things, the report, the highlight, the keywords, the new terms which report is coming into putting up in the newspapers. You're going to see all of them from prelims perspective. The next news is again in the same UNFCCC Conference of Parties 30, which is happening in Belém, Brazil. India has very clearly put forward this time that again we need to talk about climate finance. We talk about climate change. We talk about we need to fight climate change. But again, what is required? We need money to fight climate change. And this is where India has clearly put forward its stance on behalf of itself and again few other countries I'm going to discuss. So India has highlighted that climate finance is a key barrier to climate ambitions, what we have set for ourselves. That is something India has clearly put forward. So India has spoke in behalf of BASIC, that is Brazil, South Africa, India and China, and the LMDC countries at the UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Conference of Party 30, which is happening in Belém, Brazil. Very, very important topic for your examination. I'll tell you how questions are also asked in prelims and mains examination from these kind of conferences. So developing countries want to fight climate change, but they do not have enough money to fight it. That is a prime concern, and climate finance is a biggest barrier to fight climate change. Let's see what India has talked in this particular report. India has told that with respect to definition of climate finance, we need to have a clarity. That we need to have a very clear definition that what do we understand by climate finance. Many times developed countries give grants, developed countries give loans, we go for different kind of funds. So are they actually funds, money, loans given for climate finance? So there has to be some clarity on this. So money given for other purposes or other developmental process are maybe channeled on the name of climate finance. This is where India has very clearly told that again we need to have a very clear definition of climate finance. Right now everyone counts money differently, which creates a lot of confusion. Then adaptation. We need to adapt ourselves to climate change which is happening, and for that also we require money. So adaptation basically means protecting people for climate impacts, example floods, heat waves, droughts, which we are seeing very frequently happening across the globe. So India has said that we need more money for adaptive finances, which is almost 15 times more than what we get today. So see the importance of the money with respect to what we are getting and what exactly is required. And how can you expect maybe climate change to stop if money is not there with respect to the developing countries? Then they also told that again we need a very strong outcome on, we have something called as global goal on adaptation under Article 7 of Paris Agreement, which talks about aims to enhance adaptive capacity, strengthen resilience and reduce climate vulnerability. All of these has been discussed in the Paris Agreement, but the amount of money which we have is 15 times less than what exactly is required for this adaptation finance as per this particular report. Then what else has been discussed over here is Article 9.1 of Paris Agreement. All of we know the very classic Paris Agreement, that every developed country, see the word here, legally obligated that to give money to developing countries for mitigation and adaptation purposes. So many times developed countries think it as charity, think it as something voluntarily. But as Paris Agreement, which all of us have signed, it is a compulsory thing, and this is not optional, and that has to be very much clear to everyone. This is something India has talked about. It also talked about climate technology. Now we understand there is a with the growing nature of technology, there are new technologies that are coming up to fight climate change. But again, what happens with that? With new technology, there is patents. So sometimes it becomes very difficult for developing countries to adopt these technologies due to patent which are being filed. So India has told that as per the IPR and market barriers must not block technology transfer to developing countries. Developing nations need green technology, for example, solar, clean hydrogen, without expensive patents stopping them. It also talked about developmental gap. So there is a gap between global north and global south that need to cut down. So as for the UNFCCC Just Transition Work Program, so we need to work towards action-oriented plans. That is, the climate change or climate institutions must be fair, it must be equitable and inclusive in nature, so that the developing countries should not suffer while rich countries are moving faster with respect to developmental process. This is something which this report has highlighted. Then, we also have two specific climate finance targets which are undergoing as of now. That is, number one is from Baku to Belém roadmap. In the COP29, we talked about countries have agreed to have a new collective quantified goal that we need to mobilize at least $300 billion per year by 2035 for developing countries to help them to fight climate change. Then there is also a broader goal that again we need to reach at least 1.3 trillion per year by 2035 in total external climate finance. Then in the Glasgow Climate Pact, which happened, the rich countries have committed that they are going to give $40 billion for adaptation purposes by 2025 for developing nations, which is again not happening. Then again, look at the question here. So again we are seeing that again we are having Conference of Parties 30. Similarly, a conference happened, that is again the Paris Agreement, very classic one, with reference to the agreement at UNFCCC meeting in Paris in 2015. Which of the following statements is or are correct? The question was asked in the year 16, the agreement happened in 15. So again, that tells you the importance of these conferences as far as the prelims examination is concerned. So these are the few basic objectives which has been discussed. Read the statements and please tell me in comment what would be the answer, because Paris Agreement is very important. It is again a part of your static syllabus of environment and ecology. So you should be knowing what exactly this question talks about. As far as mains is concerned, again, Conference of Party 26 has happened. And see, in a similar 2021 year, two questions were asked from the conference. Number one was, describe the major outcomes of 26th session of Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework or UNFCCC. What are the commitments made by India in this conference? Similarly, India has made a commitment this year in COP30 with respect to climate finance, with respect to other major things. This is the kind of development you're going to read, and that's how questions are asked as far as environment topics in newspapers are concerned. In a similar year, on the same year, explain the purpose of Green Grid initiative launched under World's Leader Summit of COP26 at UNFCCC in Glasgow in November 21. When was this idea first floated in the International Solar Alliance? So again, this is the kind of questions which are basically asked from events with respect to climate change conference of parties happening across the globe. So very important from prelims as well as from mains perspective. The next topic is again a recent study by scientists from Japan have found out that again there is a promising new method to repair spinal fractures using stem cells. Again, I'm going to discuss what are stem cells. What is this whole discovery all about? So as per the report, so what they have discussed, again in Japan, we have a problem of Osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is what? It is basically a disease where again your bones become quite weak and fragile. And many time, maybe Japan has a super aging population as well, and many people are in their old age. And this problem is very much prominent in Japan. So scientists over there have found out through a recent study that again stem cells which are there in the adipose tissue of our body, that is the which is considered which are present in the body fat. So body fat of course contains cells and it contains tissues, and from those tissues these stem cells are derived and extracted, and these stem cells have a capacity to regrow the bone which is again in the damaged area. This is how the spine, that is the back, the spinal cord, many times it gets fractured, and it is very much very let's say time taking process to heal them. So with this is a new technology where again the weak bones and fragile bones are going to be cured with respect to this particular technology. That is what this new study has found out. So that is a basic idea. Then what are stem cells? So that is something which is very important as far as prelims is concerned. So you understand that every cell in a body has some specific task to do. Brain cells is something which is required for your brain, right? So blood cells for your blood, like bone cells for your bones, nervous cells for your nervous system. So every cell in a body is doing a specific task, right? But there are stem cells which are maybe open to any new role present in the body, right? And these cells are called as stem cells. So they do not have any defined role in the body. They take up the charge whenever there is any kind of requirement in the body with respect to regeneration of new cells. For example, you cut your hand. Maybe after cutting a hand, that bleeding has to stop, right? And again, there is new skin which is getting developed, and this is where every skin cell or every specific cell type in the body has its own stem cell as well. So the skin cell of the body has a stem cell also. So that stem cell is being used to repair the cut and make new skin in that particular area. That's the quality of stem cell. So stem cell are basically have self-renew, and they can renew themselves in an indefinite manner, right? So they keep making more copies of themselves. They can differentiate and they can take again any role. Let's say maybe I am a student, I want to pursue any career, that option I have. Similarly, these stem cells have a capacity to change themselves to any other cell type in the body, right? And in humans, they are basically found in the inner cell mass of an early embryo. So again, whenever there is a fertilization process happening in the women, so that early stage embryo, which is of 5 to 6 days, is containing the most powerful stem cells. But again, it has some ethical concerns in terms of its using. Then same tissues, some tissues of the fetus, umbilical cord and placenta. Basically, people usually tell that whenever a child is born, the umbilical cord contains stem cells that needs to be preserved. And then several adult organs of the body also contains stem cells. Then there are different types of stem cells which are present in the body. One is called as pluripotent stem cells. So there are supple flexible stem cells. They can change themselves to any form or any cell type in the body. So they are basically found in embryo, that again the 3-5 days after fertilization process, there is an embryo which is getting developed, and that embryo contains the most powerful stem cells which can be specialized or can be changed into any cell type and can be helped to generate any specialized tissue in the human body. Then we have induced pluripotent. So this is something not natural. In this, what we are doing, we are taking out a normal cell from the body. Let's say a skin cell is taken from a body, and that skin cell, scientists are adding embryonic genes over here. This is natural. So in this, from the body, we are taking skin cells. We are, maybe the scientists are adding embryonic genes in that. And then the cell reverts back into stem cell-like state and becomes pluripotent again. This is again a way in which artificially we are making induced pluripotent stem cells. Then adult body. just like what we have, also contains stem cells which are called as somatic stem cells. So these are undifferentiated cells already present in an adult body and in our tissues and organs, and they can only turn into the type of cells they are found in that specific tissue. For example, if I am founding in this adipose tissue, right? So that cell could, or that stem cell could only be used for that particular cell type only. Not just like here, but again, this have a capacity of what? They can change themselves to any cell type. But let's say if I have taken a stem cell from an adult body, from the skin stem cell, that skin stem cell can only be used for development of new skin cell type. Clear? So again, examples: neural stem cells can form nerve related cells. Skin stem cells can help form new skin cells only. So these are the different type of stem cells. Again, very important for your prelims examination. So benefits, again, we have discussed. They have a regenerative capacities, which could be very good for to become specific cell types to regenerate and repair any damaged tissues. Again, cancer treatment is also associated with stem cell therapy. Drug screening and development, it could be used for generating specific human tissues for in vitro drug screening and toxicity testing. Understanding of diseases can also be used by observing the growth of these cells into mature cells in bones, heart, muscles, and nerves. That's how we can understand the type of diseases. So these are the potential benefits of stem cells. Look at one question here. With reference to stem cells frequently in the news, which of the following statements is or are correct? That's how the questions are basically asked. Stem cells can be derived from mammals only. Again, whenever you see the word only, extreme words in the examination, please understand that again, the statement itself tells I am wrong most of the times, right? Stem cells can be used for screening new drugs. Stem cells can be used for medical therapies, right? So which of the options are correct here? So tell me in comment what would be the answer of this particular question. Moving on to the place in news today is Tehrān. So Iran is a country, Tehrān is the capital. So it has been facing severe drought conditions since last 6 decades, that is 60 years. And major dams, many water bodies are at a very critically low water level. That is what is very important. Please locate Iran. Again, a very important place in the West Asian region, strategically very important in news a lot of times, right? So the political boundaries you see in the north, what do we have? We have Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan. In eastern side, we have Afghanistan and Pakistan. In the western side, we have Turkey, we have Iraq, right? The water boundaries are very important. Caspian Sea we have over here. We have Gulf of Oman here. We have Persian Gulf over here. So all such things, basic geographical features, you're going to see and locate them in map, as this is a news and a very important place as far as examination point of view is concerned. Moving on to the quick updates for the day. So the very first is anti-defection law. All of you know about this law. So recently, Calcutta High Court has ordered or has disqualified MLA under anti-defection law. Technically, again, it is again a clear message to the legislative organ that again you need to do your task in a time-bound manner. Technically, the disqualification is coming under the speaker of that particular house. But if the speaker is delaying in giving judgment with respect to anti-defection law violation, then judicial review is one such thing. Courts can intervene and give judgment on that particular matter. That has been done in this particular case. So basically, anti-defection law was added in the Constitution through 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Again, important point for your prelims examination. And it is has added one more new schedule to the Constitution, 10th schedule, which contains all such things which are there in the anti-defection law. So basically, this is telling that on what grounds the members of parliament, the members of legislative assembly can get disqualified. What are those? If, let's say, if I have maybe contested election, I have been contesting election in the name of one political party on the ticket of that political party, but once I become and once I get elected, I give up the party membership. It is again amounting to disqualification under this. Then voting and abstaining, that is every party has its whip. right? So if my political party on a particular bill, we all are voting on same let's say bill, so we have to be together. But if you are not following party whip, it is also a disqualification under this law. Then elected members, so again, whenever a member who is elected from a particular political party ticket, after election, if he is joining any other political party, it is also amounting to defection. Then any nominated member who have been nominated, then if he gets disqualified if he is joining any political party after 6 months of filing the or getting nominated. Then in case there is an exception that again, if there are party mergers, so this would not be applicable if no disqualification would happen if 2/3 of the members of legislative party agree to merger with any other political party. Again, basic speaker or the chairman decides the petition or decisions is considered final, but again they are coming under judicial review, because judicial review, again very important, is a part of basic structure of the Indian constitution. And it was this whole idea of this anti-defection coming under judicial review was done in the Quixote Holohan case of 1992. Clear? Again, very important as far as polity questions from these topics are concerned. The next topic is Mudh Nyoma Air Base. Again, a air base in the Ladakh, eastern region of Ladakh has been built and it has come into operation. It is 13,000 feet and it is very close to LAC region. Again, strategically important for these regions, and it is enhancing the whole security of India with respect to rapid deployment of aircrafts over there, surveillance, high altitude operations. And it is built by Border Road Organization, and it is fourth major airbase in Ladakh after Leh, Kargil, Thois, and it boosts India's deterrence versus China. Again, important fact for your prelims examination. Moving on, we have hepatitis A. So again, recently there has been a lot of fatalities due to liver disease. So there has been a rising cause of acute liver failures in India, and hepatitis A is basically related to liver. So basically, it is a inflammation of liver and it leads to mild to severe illness. The transmission, whenever you are drinking any contaminated water or food, or you're coming in direct sexual contact with person who is infected with hepatitis A, that is something how you are getting hepatitis A in your body. So recovery, many times people get cure from this particular disease, and again they have a lifelong immunity for that particular thing. But sometimes, some rare cases, they become what we call as fulminant hepatitis, which can be fatal, which can be dangerous to one's life. Then there are other two types of hepatitis, hepatitis B and hepatitis C. So there has been no chronic liver diseases with respect to hepatitis A, but with hepatitis B and C, there is a chronic illness associated. As far as the vaccines are concerned, we have vaccines for A and B hepatitis, but for C, we do not have any vaccine. Clear? Then information integrity on climate change. Again, one major thing happening in conference of party 30, that again with respect to the information with respect to climate change, let's say deforestation rate, maybe the carbon emission, these kind of datas need to be clean and clear. It should not be, the data should not be forged. This is where this information integrity on climate change has been declared as per this in this agreement. So this was launched here, and again it was also announced in the G20 summit of 2024. So a multilateral initiative of all states and international organizations, they have been promoting that again with respect to information on climate, there has to be some kind of integrity which we need to maintain. Then there has been, the goal is to promote information integrity on climate issues through research, funding and coordinated action. Global Fund for Information Integrity is being created for this particular purpose. So this declaration basically recognizes that climate misinformation is equivalent to climate crisis. Any false or misleading content about causes, impacts or solutions is something very dangerous, and it is committing governments to protect climate science and to ensure all information regarding climate are transparent, accurate with respect to public communications. The next topic is Global Carbon Budget 2025. Again, this report has again given highlights on India. So as per the emission this year, we had, of course, a longer stretch of monsoon that led to 1.4% slowed the emission what India has been doing. So this year we let's say the emission rate was reduced by 1.4%, and this is report released by Global Carbon Project. So India is the third largest emitter of carbon dioxide across the world. First is China and second is US. But look at the number. China is 12 billion tons, US is 4.9 billion tons, and India is 3.2 billion tons. So the per capita emission, of course, as far as India is concerned, is second lowest among the top 20 developing economies, right? And with respect to coal, as for the report, coal is a major source of India's carbon emission. Then the next topic is Supreme Court has ordered the Saranda forest in the Jharkhand region is going to be declared as wildlife sanctuary and a conservation reserve, and mining is prohibited within 1 kilometer radius of this forest boundary. So basic facts about the forest: whenever a place in news, a forest is being given a particular status of wildlife sanctuary, conservation reserve, you're going to read basic facts about such forest. Example, it is located in Jharkhand, called as land of 700 hills. This dense sal forest, part of Chota Nagpur Plateau biogeographic zone, again connecting Odisha and Chhattisgarh, tribes, basic tribes, rivers, corridors, and what kind of flora and fauna species are found in such forest are the facts which you are going to read. The next topic is Climate and Health Funders Coalition. So recently there has been a $30 million commitment with respect to climate finance, right? The aim is to integrated action on climate change plus its health impact. So it's a coalition of institutional and individual funders working at a global level. And again, the major funders are Bloomberg Philanthropies, Gates Foundation. And the focus area with respect to how we are going to use this amount of fund is for fighting extreme heat, for fighting air pollution, for climate sensitive infectious diseases, and climate and health data for decision making. This is how we are going to use the fund which is collected under Climate and Health Funders Coalition. The next topic is Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, which has come down as a national security concern. All of you have read the topic of ocean currents. That's how maybe from equatorial region, the hot water is getting circulated in the polar regions, right? So this circulation, something which is there happening in the Atlantic region is called as Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circuit. That's how global heat balance is maintained between exchange of warm currents and cold currents. Cold currents from south move towards north, and warm currents from north move towards south, and cold currents from south move towards the north. That's how the heat balance is maintained. So this is getting weak in the region that has been considered as a national security concern. So its impact is maybe if there is less exchange of this, Europe is going to get more cooler. There has been major precipitation shifts in Europe, South America, and Africa. It is going to also impact Indian monsoon timing, and tropical rain belt is going to shift a little bit southwards, causing Sahel kind of drought-like situation. Right. So with this, we come to an end of today's discussion. All important questions which could be framed from the topic which I have discussed will pop up in your screen. It is very important that you solve those questions. Put up in the comment section your answers so that there is some kind of competitive spirit for around all students who are preparing for this examination. Lastly, Vision has come up with digital current affairs platform. Please go and explore this website. It is certainly going to help you a lot with respect to your current affairs preparation. So till the time, all the very best, and thank you so much.